If you had to just guess right now, how much of your time in your day do you spend operating from a place of not enough versus an energy of always enough? And if you happen to be in the Western culture, my guess is that you might realize like how much of your life has this foundation of not enough. And this can show up on a lot of different levels in terms of just feeling inadequate as a person. That was like a big one for me when I looked at it myself through this lens of just, I never feel like I'm enough. I always have to do more. I have to prove myself. No matter how much I do, it's just never enough. And also in terms of how I would like fear, another angle of like how this could show up is just how we move in fear of like, oh my gosh, there's never enough money. There's never enough, love from other people. It just not enough. A lack-based foundation, really, it just stems from lack. That creates this fear-based feeling in us when we're in any of those like not enough kind of placements, versus like the other end of the spectrum, which I think is at the core of what a lot of us want to feel in our lives, this kind of transition into always enough. And in this short video, I literally just want to describe this transition that you can make right now to feeling like always enough. I want to explain something through this lens of quantum physics, the quantum foundations of our world, that literally illustrate why there is always enough. That like this scarcity mindset, this scarcity approach of I'm never enough, like, oh no, what if it runs out? This constant kind of fear-based way of life. It puts you in a state of being, and like a fight or flight state for sure. And that is reflected in your energy field. And if you know anything about my work is all about energy fields and how they resonate, specifically your energy field, you creating and living from a more heart coherent field, because your energy field is always connecting to and materializing the things in your life based off of your vibrational state right this very moment. And if we continue to move and operate from like a pattern of not enough, lack, we just continue to attract and materialize that in our lives. We always find what we're looking for. That's like self-fulfilling prophecy. And whatever we believe to be true is like what we end up attracting and creating, manifesting in our lives. And so looking at yourself through this lens of like, wow, okay, how much time do I spend in not enough, gotta do more, constantly, more work in order to earn money, that energy just creates more of the same. And we can transition and shift to a space of there is always enough. Because when we're in not enough space, we're not grateful for what's here right now. I think that's the biggest thing that I would want you to know about your own energy field when you're operating from lack and not enough, fear-based placement, is there's not appreciation for what is here right now in your life. Even if it doesn't look like the way you want it to look like, even if you think it should look different, you're maybe trying to control something or chase something or avoid something. The reality is, if you really opened up your mind and perspective as to what's around you right now in your life, chances are there would be a lot that you could be like, holy cow, actually there's a ton here in my life. Most of us can open up the cabinets in our kitchen and have food for days. Most of us have plenty of money to cover the bills today. There is overflow in our lives in a lot of different places, but we keep focusing on these like lack-based problems because we're taught to, completely no judgment here. I catch myself, which is why I wanted to make this video, because I had such a shift this week where I'm like, oh my gosh, I am not grateful. I'm not grateful for what's here in my life. Look at how much is here. And when you shift to this space of always enough, you have a great appreciation for what is here, gratitude. You know, one could say, like, in terms of your energy field and what you attract and create in your life based off of the frequency of your energy field, your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, your actions, these are all kind of a composition of the physiological state and like the frequency that is emitted from your body. When we are in a state of gratitude, that is the frequency of receiving. When we're grateful, it's like a vibrational message of receptivity. And I wanted to talk about the power of this shift in your life to always enough. And I want to talk about it too little ways of quantum physics. Because you might be watching this video and feeling like, okay, there's not enough. Like you might feel like you're kind of stuck in an energy of not enough. And I want to just illustrate this principle on like the most micro level of our life, right? This is where I get this, the foundation of my work, you know, down to the energy fields of atoms, like every single energy field of an atom based off of its composition, constituents, you know, that determines what other atoms it connects with, which form molecules, which now we're getting into the building blocks of life. And, you know, you in a way, if we could like kind of zoom out, in a way you're an atom in this world, and your energy field resonates in such a way that it connects with other people and other things and other fields that ends up kind of materializing the world we're living in now. And when you shift your frequency, by going inward, you know, kind of not letting this external world dictate, you know, how you feel, what's going on inside of you. And when you shift your frequency, you will connect to other fields. You'll connect to other atoms. You will attract and create different things that match the vibrational frequency that you are emitting. And so this is a known in the quantum mechanics community, quantum physics community, that there's actually a ton of untapped energy, like a lot of untapped energy, a lot of untapped potential in every single atom, meaning that the way that the atom is operating, it actually has a lot more energy to it than it's being used. And you have 7 trillion atoms in a single cell, you know, give or take, maybe depending on the cell, but a lot of atoms per cell. And so I kind of want you to know that there's a vast amount of untapped energy inside of you. And in my personal kind of theory and perspective, this is why we dream about more for our lives, why we feel like there's more potential in us, because we feel this like energy that hasn't been utilized or could really like shift the function of an atom in our body. And we have this opportunity of reorganizing our frequency to shift how we're using this untapped energy inside of us that will then allow us to operate on a different vibrational pattern, which will then, help us materialize in alignment with the way that we're feeling. And when you make the shift over to there's always enough, because if you think about it on that plane, there's like a ton of energy. There's always enough. It's just not being utilized. There's always enough energy. We're just not, we haven't tapped into it. We're not utilizing it. And I also want to paint this illustration of the power of this present moment. A lot of us operate from this not enough standpoint because it's what we've known in the past. We are carrying over, our past into this moment, and we're projecting it into the future. But the future is unwritten possibility and potential. If I can do all the energy that's unused, unformed, like the future that's happening, 15 seconds from now hasn't happened yet. The whatever materializes hasn't happened yet. It can shift into so many different ways to, lead you down so many different things, bring so many different opportunities into your life. But when you keep operating in this present moment from a state of lack, as the future becomes the past in this present moment, what materializes is exactly what's in resonance to your field right now. And so if you do this practice of catching yourself when you're moving from a lack-based place and move into this spot of like, okay, how much is here? let me remind myself, this vast unknown space of possibility and potential has every scenario that is like possible. You know, $5,000 could like fall into my lap, maybe not like fall into your lap, but there's so many different ways that money can make its way to you. But if you keep projecting on how you don't have enough and you feel restricted, you'll keep resonating in this present moment as the possibility and potential turns into material matter based off of what you're observing in this present moment. Then that's going to perpetuate. So if you just do a divine practice as much as you can in your day, I really recommend like playing with this. Like every hour, if you want to set an alarm and just say, wow, can I just really like feel overflow in my life right now? Feel so grateful for what's here. Because when we feel that abundance, that there's always enough, like I want to ask you, how does that make you feel? If you really believed, and that could be the work here, you know, that's kind of where I like to help people when we encounter these blocks, these familiar patterns that we're stuck in. How can we change and like really believe that there's always enough? Because chances are, if you really believed there was like you had $1 million in your bank account, like everything was, you just knew like there was always going to be enough. Chances are you would feel safe, secure, free, confident, peaceful, you know, all of these types of feelings that most of us are seeking in our lives. We feel that way when we are in a place of like, wow, there's more than enough. There's more than I need. And there's just going to be more overflow. And when you start pointing out and focusing on the overflow in your life, that is what is going to expand, because that's, you know, the nature of the power of our conscious focus. What you focus on, you give energy to, and that is what will grow and expand. So I just wanted to share this short video on like hopefully a really powerful shift that you can start applying to your life, because there's a whole lot that we could create together on this earth if more and more people were tapping into overflow, this reality that there's always enough. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.